Thanks so much for logging on to CBS News Colorado. We are back here in the CBS News Colorado Sports Office with sports anchor Eric Christensen, of course, breaking down the big Nuggets news. Calvin Booth, the GM, and Michael Malone, the head coach, both out. Eric, your initial reaction to this?
Not unlike everybody's, surprised, shocked. I don't think anyone woke up this morning and thought that Michael Malone was going to lose his job. He's only the winningest coach in franchise history, the only one who's led him to an NBA championship. And this late in the season, I heard he's like, this is the latest a coach has ever been fired in a season ever. And this is a guy who is your winningest coach ever. He's won a championship. He's won more playoff games than everybody. Seemed like him and the Cronkies in the organization were super tight. Denver seemed to have built kind of a family atmosphere in that era, but I guess like all families, you know, you have your rough patches, and you know, the end of this season hasn't gone great for Denver. I don't know how much blame you put on Calvin Booth. I don't know how much blame you put on Michael Malone, and I don't know how much blame you put on injuries. They've been without their starting five for a good portion of these last couple months. Jamal Murray's been out, Aaron Gordon's been out, Michael Porter Jr.'s been out, and you know, Denver's not built to sustain those kind of absences in their lineup. In a Western Conference, that's super tough.
Really?
Like, there are so many good teams in the West. Like, if you don't have your full contingent of players, good luck.
You mentioned the timing of this. There's less than 5 games to go in the regular season. There is a lot of jockeying to be had here in the final stretch. The Nuggets will be in the playoffs. It's just a question of where they will be in the playoffs and if they will be in the play-in. That being said, what do you expect from this team moving forward? Could this be a wake-up call, or could this maybe backfire and go south?
Yeah, I think wake-up calls like this are fleeting. Like, I think you are who you are at this point of the season. Are they magically going to become a defensive dynamo under David Adelman? I don't think so, and that has nothing to do with Coach Adelman. I just think you kind of are who you are at this point of the season. Maybe they get an initial burst, but I think once you get into the playoffs, it's going to come down to the things it always comes down to, right? Passion, execution, all that kind of stuff that wins you games, and you got to hope Nikola Jokic stays healthy. But I really do think that I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock into this is going to surge them forward to an NBA title. You might see some benefits for a game or two, but once again, in the playoffs, all bets are off.
Well, and you mentioned health, and you mentioned Jamal Murray, and obviously Nikola Jokic. It starts and ends with him. If he's not good, then the Nuggets have nothing. But I think health could play a really, really big factor here. And I would argue that perhaps if Jamal Murray had been healthy, and maybe if the Nuggets had won a couple games down the stretch that they've lost here, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Do you agree?
I do agree with that. If they were healthy, if Jamal hadn't missed this kind of time, if Gordon hadn't been in and out of the lineup all season long, MPJ missed a few games last week, if all those guys were healthy and they weren't on a 4 or 5 game losing streak and they weren't falling in the standings, I don't think this move would have happened. But I do also think, like, you know, fans talk about this all the time. You can't waste Nikola Jokic's championship window. And the prevailing sentiment, I think that's been for a while now, last year and most of this year, is that this current crop of Nuggets, management, players, coaches alike, are kind of wasting Nikola's championship window. He scored 50-some points the other week. They lost. He scored 41 the other night, and they lost. Like, he's playing better than he's ever played, and yet they're not winning. And that's an indictment on someone.
Yeah.
Whether it's Booth, Malone, Kroenke, all three, you know, that's not for me to decide, but it's an indictment on someone that you've got the best player in the world playing the best basketball in the world, and you seem to be going the wrong way.
Well, now I think it is on the Cronkies, right? Okay, because they've gotten rid of the GM, they've gotten rid of the head coach.
They can't point too many other ways.
Exactly, and now it's on ownership to find some guys who can come in and really kind of solidify this front office, solidify the bench in terms of the coaching position, and then really put the Nuggets in a position to win, because you would hate to look back on Nikola Jokic's career and say, wow, they only won 1 title in Denver, and here they are less than 2 years removed from that title, and they just fired their head coach and their general manager. Of course, we will have much more on this story and the Nuggets push to the playoffs and hopefully beyond the first round. We'll see, coming up on CBS News Colorado and streaming right here on CBSColorado.com.